no discourse on urban development is complete without the academic lens of Professor Dr. Numan Ahmed, Pro Vice Chancellor at NAD University, educated at Harvard and Loughborough, and a recipient of Tamgai Imtiaz. His work spans the Quetta Master Plan, Karachi Climate Action Plan, and more. Let's welcome Professor Dr. Numan Ahmed.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Honorable and respected Zagam Mahmood Rizvi Saab, Professor Dr. Mohammad Tufail, Vice Chancellor, NAD University, Hussain Bakhshi Saab, Chairman Abad, distinguished guests, faculty members, students, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor and privilege to address on this very auspicious occasion of the launch of the two books, very ably authored by Zagam Saab. I was supposed to speak about the academic discourse that has remained in housing, and I will take a few minutes to inform you about how the academic debate related to housing has evolved during the post-Second World War globe. And that will also possibly help us relate that whatever type of undertaking and developments that we have done in Pakistan, how do they correlate with what was happening across the world? Next, please. Now, housing, as we learn, is not something that is only confined to brick and mortar. Housing is life, and whenever we have appropriate housing, life flourishes. It is from this perspective that we learn that housing is not only explored in very typical disciplines like architecture, urban and regional planning, engineering, but also in economics, anthropology, sociology, and more. And there is a wealth of academic discourse, knowledge, scholarship that exists in these disciplines, which is manifested in some of the outstanding works that have been produced all across the globe and keep enlightening us in whatever we do in respect to improving the conditions of housing. Various disciplines obviously approach housing differently. For some, housing is numbers. For the others, housing is a condition. Some others might consider housing as a continuing activity. Whatever approach we take, I think one thing that remains fundamental, and that is that housing is one of the essential human rights which are necessary for the progress of civilization. And we have found that wherever this has happened, civilization, people, and nations have progressed. And this is something that we need to take cognizance of. Next. I have chosen, since it is an occasion of book launch, I have taken the liberty of identifying a few books that have informed housing discourse across the globe during the post-Second World War period and have continued to do so in the times to come. Next. This is a book that actually revolutionized housing and thinking about housing. And this was authored by a very famous architect, British architect, John F.C. Turner, and this book was written immediately after the Second World War. This was a time when the United Kingdom was facing an acute shortage of manpower. Large number of people from across the globe were resettling in that country. And obviously there was a need for housing that was very evidently felt. So as we learned that in the usual systems of municipal functioning, there were very strict codes and processes that guided housing development. And all the self-built housing that was made by the immigrants and other people, that was despised upon. So Turner, based upon his experience and foresight, informed the audience that housing is something essentially connected with people, and that's why there is a need for, in fact, ensuring flexibility in dealing with housing. So housing by people basically tried to make housing a more humanized process and not necessarily a technocratic process as such. Next. This is another very extraordinary book, Freedom to Build. This book was also authored by John Turner and his colleagues, which were meant to serve not just in the United Kingdom, but so many other parts of the developing countries, primarily Latin America, and in which they brought together the experiences of how unconventionally housing is built and how urban housing can be informed by this process. Next. Now, this is not too far away from this region. Laurie Baker was a British architect again, but who was a Gandhian missionary, and he settled in the subcontinent, undivided India, and later remained in India. And he worked with the local communities as far away as in the remote villages of Himalayas and the south of India. And in that, he tried to learn how ordinary people build their housing and how the modern discourse on housing can be impacted by the learnings that people have to offer to the more, I would say, white-collared professionals or professionals who consider themselves completely knowledgeable in these type of pursuits. So these very modest but extremely effective books and booklets informed a very wide cross-section of house builders, communities, and indigenous organizations to improve their living environment. Next. This is a book by an American architect, Amos Rappaport, House Form and Culture, and it informs us that the typology of housing actually shapes the overall complexion of civilization. If you have well-planned and well-delivered housing, then the type of human resource and the overall outcome of the civilization one foresees is extraordinary. Next. This is a book written within Pakistan, but not by a Pakistani. This is a book written by a group of researchers, possibly the pioneers of urban research in Pakistan. The title may sound very interesting, Between Basti Dwellers and Bureaucrats. And this book was written in the 1980s by one of my senior colleagues who's no more in the world, Professor Dr. Jan van der Linden from Free University, Amsterdam. In this, he looked at the manner in which Karachi and other larger cities in Pakistan were expanding and how the red tape and bureaucracy was basically obstructing different types of self-devised processes in housing. And as a consequence, people found difficulty in accessing housing. So in this book, they identified the procedural bottlenecks, the technocratic shortcomings, and other type of handicaps that needed to be done away with in order to generate a better housing quality and housing stock. Next. This is a follow-up of the same exercise in which Kachi Abadis that most of us despise, but something that we cannot live away with, they were identified as settlements of hope, as settlements that required upgrading and not bulldozing. Next. This is, again, a follow-up of the work that was done in different settlements that were organically evolving, but the settlements that were essential for various types of city activities. The Bastis of Karachi's types and dynamics tried to qualify that how settlements should be altered for a sustainable future in the city to expand. Next. A follow-up of a very interesting housing experiment that was done initially in Gulshan-e-Shehbaz near Hyderabad and then experimented all across the country by a very famous bureaucrat, Mr. Tasneem Ahmed Siddiqui. I think many of us have heard the name of Khuda Ki Basti. And in Khuda Ki Basti, the analysis was done about the fact that while Kachi Abadis thrived, the planned settlements that were delivered by public agencies were mostly empty, unoccupied, and showed signs of decay. And Tasneem Saab, amongst the various other types of handicaps, he identified that the targeted delivery of urban land was one of the key towards the success of making a settlement flourish and develop. So he adopted, in fact, he learned what the Kachi Abadi dwellers were doing and adopted in his first scheme in Gulshan-e-Shehbaz under Hyderabad Development Authority. And this experiment was replicated all across the country in various forms. What Tasneem Saab is no more, but what lesson he actually left behind is that by identifying the problem, demonstrating it through an experiment, and trying to inform the housing policy, substantial amount of benefits can be drawn. Next. These are books by another very giant housing expert, Mr. Arif Hassan. The first book is about the type of challenges the people of Karachi face in terms of accessing land. This was co-authored by several people. Then the other book is about understanding Karachi's planning, development, and housing issues. And the third one is, in fact, focusing at shelter, the overall minimal standard for housing that is needed in most of the cities across the country. Next. So the question that comes out of this academic discourse is that how do ordinary people negotiate their right to housing in everyday interaction in Karachi and elsewhere in Pakistan that have long been associated with deregulated governance, inequality, and insecurity, and whether the existing policy framework is appropriately addressing this very fundamental question. Next. Sometimes we criticize squatters, which is fine because squatters on the face of it appear to be illegal settlements. But the reality is that squatters represent the incapability of the state apparatus to deliver housing. If the state apparatus was in place and was delivering properly, then the squatters may not have existed. And squatters exist all across the globe in some of the most developed countries of the world as well for similar reasons. No formal supply for housing has remained for the past several years now, and I think this is a huge challenge that we have to experience. Next. When provided earlier, the delivery of land and housing was something that was generating useful results and especially reaching out to the poor. Now the urban poor are completely elbowed out from this whole exercise. We have very limited understanding of sociology and economics of urban poor. Urban poor, as we understand, cannot come up with upfront contribution, monetary contribution towards housing, and we have to devise ways and means that suit to the sociology and economics of this very important category of people that we have. Next. The way forward is that there are many best practices. A sizable number of those best practices are also documented in Zagam Saab's books. We need to learn from them and possibly modify our housing policies accordingly. Targeted land delivery has always generated very useful results. The only lesson that we need to apply at a wider scale is to do it at an extensive level and not just at an experimental level. Land market studies have been earlier undertaken in Pakistan, but as we learned that land transaction is something which is basically influenced by clandestine dealings and not an open market situation. And finally, academic discourse, research, and knowledge creation is something that continues to inform the housing policy. If we can strengthen this process, I think the overall housing scenario is going to benefit. Thank you very much for your patient listening.